Hello and welcome to the program. You're watching the Daily V News by the VNA. And the top stories for today.
Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lương Thanh Nghị affirms Vietnam's indisputable sovereignty. The Vietnam-US Aviation Cooperation Working Group held its first meeting in Hanoi. A national contest on Trường Sa Archipelago, Sea and Islands was launched in Hanoi on May 10.
The Vietnamese Foreign Ministry spokesperson affirms Vietnam's indisputable sovereignty over the Hoàng Sa and Trường Sa archipelagos at a regular press briefing in Hanoi on May 10th.
In reply to reporters' questions on recent reports that several Taiwanese officials have come to Ba Binh Island of the Trường Sa or Spratly Archipelago and announced sovereignty over the archipelago, Foreign Ministry's spokesman Lương Thanh Nghị said that is an action violating Vietnam's sovereignty over the Trường Sa archipelago, causing tensions and further complicating the situation in the East Sea. Vietnam protests the arrival of Taiwanese officials on Ba Binh Island of the Trường Sa archipelago and the claim of sovereignty over the island. Vietnam demands Taiwan immediately stop the aforementioned action. Spokesman Nghị also answered questions about China's oil and gas exploitation activities, including putting the 981 oil rig into operation in the East Sea. We think that activities of countries in the East Sea need to comply with international law, especially the 1982 UN Convention on the Law of the Sea and the spirit of the Declaration of the Conduct of Parties in the East Sea, DOC, and not to violate the sovereignty and jurisdiction rights of other nations, thus contributing to peace and stability in the East Sea. In reply to another question on wrong information on Vietnam's sovereignty over the Hoàng Sa or Paracel archipelago on Google Maps website, spokesman Lương Thanh Nghị reiterated Vietnam's indisputable sovereignty over the Hoàng Sa and the Trường Sa archipelagos. Information that fails to reflect the fact is totally wrong and worthless. We are ready to share with publishers and printing companies accurate documents, maps data on Vietnam's sovereignty in the East Sea. The spokesperson said the Vietnamese Ministry of Foreign Affairs has recently met Google representatives to affirm Vietnam's stance that the wording of the map on Google Maps wrongly reflects Vietnam's sovereignty over the Hoàng Sa and Trường Sa archipelagos, and Google has corrected these mistakes.
The Vice President of the Vietnam Fatherland Front, Lê Bá Trinh, began a visit to Laos on May 9th. The same day, Trinh was received by the President of the Lao Front for National Construction, Phan Duong Chit Vong Sa.
The Lao Front leader thanked Vietnam for jointly coordinating many activities during the 2012 Laos-Vietnam Year of Friendship and Solidarity. He said he hoped that both countries will strengthen cooperation and speed up the implementation of previously signed agreements, especially to inform both peoples of the special solidarity that exists between Vietnam and Laos. Trinh stressed that the Vietnam Fatherland Front always attaches great importance to strengthening cooperation with the Lao Front for National Construction. He said the Vietnam Fatherland Front will work closely with their Lao counterparts to encourage the peoples of both countries to follow the guidelines and policies of their parties, helping to bring the special relationship to a new height.
The Ministry of Transport, in coordination with the U.S. Embassy in Vietnam, held the first meeting of the Vietnam-U.S. Aviation Cooperation Working Group in Hanoi on May 9th.
The event aimed to promote cooperation in the aviation sector between Vietnam and the U.S., which will be useful for boosting growth in many fields, particularly in economic trade. The meeting brought together experts on passenger terminals, airport safety, and airport capacity and efficiency from the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, the Civil Aviation Administration of Vietnam, and the private sector. Participants also discussed solutions to increase flight safety and security, as well as prospects of direct air services between Vietnam and the U.S.
It's a very, very dynamic market. Vietnam's aviation sector is the fastest growing in Asia. And as you build an infrastructure in aviation, that helps fuel economic growth and development. So we're very, very happy to be able to do this, and we think there's a lot of opportunities in this sector.
Vietnam is the third country to have established an aviation cooperation working group with the U.S., following China and India.
80 businesses from Vietnam and the Republic of Korea gathered at an exchange in Ho Chi Minh City on May 9th. This is the third time the exchange has been held to promote bilateral trade ties and new products.
The businesses shared information on products and market prices to seek customers and partners in their operating fields. Most visiting Korean firms are involved in industrial machinery, information technology, electronics, semiconductor production, solar energy, foodstuffs, fashion and cosmetics. Several contracts were signed on the occasion. In the recent 2 years, the Republic of Korea has surpassed Japan to become Vietnam's second largest supplier in main commodities such as garment materials, leather and footwear, machinery, equipment, spare parts, and plastics. The Republic of Korea is also Vietnam's fourth largest importer, with key products like farm produce and footwear worth nearly 4% of Vietnam's total annual exports.
A pilot scheme allowing visitors from overseas to claim back value-added tax (VAT) will be implemented at the Nội Bài Airport in Hanoi and Tân Sơn Nhất Airport in Ho Chi Minh City from July 1st, 2012 to June 30th, 2014. The scheme is expected to help the tourist industry as well as service and businesses.
The claim for VAT refunds must be made within 30 days after purchase and can only be made for items worth over 2 million Vietnamese dong. However, claims for goods prohibited or restricted exports cannot be made. Tourists will receive 85% of the VAT they paid for goods bought in Vietnam. The scheme has been welcomed by Vietnamese businesses, and many have said this will be an opportunity to promote Vietnamese products and brand names and increase revenue. This decision by the Prime Minister will have increased our export revenue. Foreigners will buy more goods when they know they can enjoy a preferential tax rate, so businesses will be able to raise their earnings and generate more for the state budget. This will create more jobs, so the pilot scheme will benefit everyone from businesses, workers, the state to the consumers themselves. However, many say that the pilot project at the two international airports need to be expanded. We will carry out the pilot scheme for 2 years at Nội Bài and Tân Sơn Nhất airports. However, during this period, if it is successful, there is no need to wait 2 years to expand to other border gates. We can introduce it to other airports and at our land borders, as well as at ports where cruise ships dock. Basically, the pilot project will be expanded across the country if it works. The statistics for 2011 indicate that over 6 million tourists visited Vietnam. Therefore, if each tourist spends $100 on goods in Vietnam, the country will earn $600 million in turnover. The VAT policy will also be adjusted in line with international regulations.
The Khánh Hòa People's Comedy launched a national contest on Trường Sa Archipelago, Sea and Islands in Hanoi on May 10th.
The contest aims to raise patriotic spirit and public awareness of the role, responsibility and tasks of defending the fatherland's territorial sovereignty. Entries can be multimedia works and songs that depict Trường Sa natural landscape and the sea and islands of Khánh Hòa and reflect the friendship with other nations and peoples. The sacrifice of many generations of Vietnamese to defend the country's sea and islands is also a theme of the contest. Entries must be submitted by April 30th next year. The award presentation ceremony will be held on the occasion of the Nha Trang Sea Festival 2013.
And we've covered all the stories for today. Thanks for joining me. Goodbye.